I had the worst date with a guy, but I ended up giving him a second chance. On this date, he took me to Christmas in the park. If you don't know what that is, there's just a bunch of Christmas decoration and a lot of people go. And at first, me and him were vibing, we were having a good time, we were laughing, we were eating. The night was starting to end, and I could tell that he was planning on kissing me. He was getting very nervous, and he couldn't stand still. In my mind, I was like, boy, just do it. And well, he ended up kissing me. Let me just tell you, it was the worst freaking kiss ever. I'm not gonna lie, his saliva was so sticky. Like, I could feel it on my lips after that. I don't know if he just didn't drink water or what it was, but after that, we never spoke again. How cute are my lashes though? I was sweeping at the store that I was working at. A man comes in, he looks at me and he tells me, you have very nice features. And right away I feel something weird. I feel like he was a psychic or something similar. And usually my intuition is on point. And he tells me if he could see my hand. I'm not a strong believer in those things, but I was curious. I was like, here you go. He told me that I was going to be very successful in life, hopefully, and that I was going to die in my 80s. I felt so relieved after hearing that because every day I would wake up and I would think that I was going to die soon. He went on to tell me to think of a flower and also the person that I loved at the moment. I thought about it. He wrote it down on a piece of paper and he handed it to me. I looked at the paper and what I had chosen was a rose and someone's name, and the paper said exactly the same thing. I was dating a guy from the church that I used to go to. And you guys already know that people are super chismosos. They love gossip, even if they go to church. So, I was trying to keep it low-key. I didn't want people to know that I was talking to this guy. I don't know how people started finding out, but his sister found out. And let me tell you, she was so jealous off of him. His own sister. She used to call other people from church and she would just complain and just be so mad because his brother was getting ready to see me. She was saying that I wasn't holy enough, that I didn't dress right, that I wasn't a woman of God, and you know, all the BS that you could imagine. Homegirl was really judgmental. But the more I heard of her being mad and crying over it, the more I wanted to go out with him. And that's exactly what I did because, yeah, no, petty me does not play. And that is not your man, girl. When I went to Mexico, I used to live at my cousin's house, right? And this girl would always want me to go pick her up from school. I used to drive her brother's truck. And this wasn't a normal truck. These are the ones that are lifted up with the big old tires. So this certain day that I'm picking her up from school, my little niece comes and I tell her, I'm like, do you want to come with me? And she's like, yes, I want to go. So I'm like, perfect. She hops on the car and I start reversing it back. And all of a sudden I hear a dog bark. So right away I look at her and I'm like, open up the door. So she opens up the door and she looks to the side and she's like, there's nothing there. So I open up my door and I look to the side and I see this dog under the big old tire. This was not a random dog. This was my cousin's dog. The tire was on his body and he was just staring at me. So quickly I drive to the front. I start freaking out and I'm like, oh my goodness, how could I do this? I felt like a murderer. I'm running out of time, but like for part 2.